Hi everybody, I'm David Malloway. I do stuff with robotics and engineering and design and so forth. There have been quite a few requests for further discussion of organizing laboratories, workspaces, etc. And this stemmed from, I guess, some pretty popular tips that came out so far. They were unscripted, and I'm really appreciative that you guys have the patience to sit through it. There are sometimes a really gold nugget in just 10 seconds, and you have to sit through a minute of monologue in between each one. So thanks everybody. Today I want to title this video, How to Double the Size of Your Lab in 1 month. Or how to double the size of your lab with just some blue tape. So let's start with a tip that came from one of the discussions. We called it a red tag event. Actually, this came from industry where I had a similar method and it was discussed in the comments. Red tag meant, well, if we just clear out a whole toolbox, this is for making space, clear out a whole toolbox, and then if we use a tool, we pull it out of the cardboard box, use it to do our activity, put the red tag and set it in the drawer. Or something like sweep everything to the right side and then move it over to the left side, or put a red tag on everything that expires in a month. Then if that tag hasn't been removed to put the tool to use, that means it hasn't been used for a whole month and it doesn't belong in the top workflow. So we could pause the chapter there and say, well, this chapter, I want to introduce the concept of real estate. So I treat my whole workspace, or even my desk over in my office, as a city where we know that there are high traffic areas. Like we're sitting right there at the desk, what's within arm's reach is the center of town, where that real estate ought to be productive all the time, and there's no low value item that should exist in that real estate, like a trinket that just takes up space, but I enjoy it. It can go up higher on a shelf, so it's not taking up this real estate. So that's what I mean when I say real estate for the coming video. And then this video, I guess we could start with one general process to get things out that you don't need. So it's related to red tag event. And I'm operating under the assumption that whatever you do, it might change next month, next year, and so we have to be accommodating of making decisions that are reversible. That this does accommodate that. The idea is we're going to take a piece of tape and put it on the lid of a box, okay, of every single box, and this could say 2025 on it, or it could say nothing at all, and you just know the blue tape means this. Now, all of your boxes or all of your drawers or cabinets have a piece of tape on them, and if you use it during that week, you remove that piece of tape. Okay, you're only going to use, I mean, unless you've done this before, you'll probably only use one half, at most, one half of the stuff in your total real estate. So that means half of the boxes at the end of that 30 days have not even been opened up. Depends on how often you change what kinds of projects you do, but good chance if you didn't use it in 1 month. I mean, we could draw a curve, a statistical distribution, and you'd say, well, half of that stuff that wasn't used in 1 month won't be used for 2 months. Half of that won't be used for a year, etc. So now you have half of your boxes labeled and they're ready to go out. But two problems arise. The first problem is that you may have had a very high demand item. That's only one high demand item in this entire box. Let's say, I don't do conduit very often, and when I do, it's a whole project. So then this is worth bringing out from a garage or something. But these little loops, I use them to fasten pipes all the time, and I'm not doing a conduit project. So that kind of signals to you, if you realize, oh, I'm only actually getting this whole box out for the one thing, then that gets to be relocated, and you find a better place for this. Other thing, so you're going to need flexibility before you can do this, and that flexibility says, or in order to have that flexibility, you have to have overflow space for everything. So when you are setting things in your organizers for the first time, I don't ever occupy more than 50%, 60% maybe of a box when I first fill it up, because then I'm going to discover, now that this says conduit, then later that week I realized, oh, I had put conduit related things down in the electrical box. 120 volt AC box also has these covers to go on, right? So the challenge is also that not everything has a name. That's why people have junk drawers, I guess. And the way to get relief is that how do you think about it? So if you were in the middle of the project, you feel like this belongs with conduit, but then you went to sleep and you woke up the next day, then where would you assign it if you weren't in the middle of a project? If you just had that thing in your hand, I found far more things came out far more easy than I expected. It was, if I just assign it the first place I think with a clear mind on a non-stressed moment, then that also tends to be the first or second place that I search if I didn't have a for sure belonging location. Okay, to quickly recap, we said the blue tape gets rid of half of our boxes. The first problem was that things don't always have a place and things aren't always in discrete boxes. Okay, and the second problem is that where are you going to put it? So people have attics, vehicles, trailers, extra spaces, throw it under your bed, whatever, and most of those decisions are okay to be temporary, right? So I had rented a warehouse that was it would get cold but not freezing in the winter, and in the summer it would get very, very hot, like over 100 Fahrenheit, over 40 Celsius. And so I'm in a moving process and I'm trying to put everything up there. I realized, oh no, this wax related stuff is going to melt. It was lubricant, yeah. So these things, when I was younger, I started putting things in these plastic bags, and somehow the lubricants would slip right past that as well. Things would get holes in it, stuff would, and also then I didn't know, like, each substance, I didn't know if it could tolerate. Some of them can tolerate 100 degrees, no problem. So I have a whole box of stuff, and let's say there's 2 mystery components. And by the way, one time I did have to clean out an entire box of fluids, and everything was sticky and messy. Turned out at the end, 2 substances were not permissible at a high temperature. The rest were fine. And do you have time to look at all these data sheets and decide? No. So what you do is, like, while you're categorizing items, then you get out the red sticker. I lied in the previous video, not lied. These have been used in different ways. First, I said that something goes together on the same shelf. Goes together on the same shelf. This could be the red shelf. Okay, that's one. The other one is these could be year-wise. So we said these are supplies that came inbound during the red year, call it 24, and then we change colors. The third way, which is like, I've never heard of somebody doing this. Red meant it can't be hot. Blue meant it can't be cold. So, and first I was specifying a temperature range, and then that just got silly, and I realized, wait, I don't have that many things that cannot freeze or go in a hot car. So the upper limit was human comfort, 85 or whatever. You don't want to leave it in a baking car in the summer. And cold, didn't matter if things get cold, just freezing. So let's say you have 2 substances that definitely cannot go down to, I don't know, 45 Fahrenheit. Everything else that has a cold problem, a problem with the cold, that just can't get down below freezing. So can I afford to gain loads and loads of space and clarity of mind in exchange for losing 2 products? Heck yeah, that's worth the cost. And so I just lose that stuff. It's not a problem in exchange for just not thinking about it. So this was the very first bin that ever got the red sticker for temperature. And then I realized, okay, well, some of these are not just lubricants, they're also adhesives. Well, that's fine. So if I have I'm searching for an adhesive and I can't find it in there, then I search here, because at some point during all of our organization processes, that substance went into this box. That was just to protect it from. So that's what's wonderful about all of the tips that I'm giving you. If you use logic the first time, then, and even if that logic is flawed, it's the same logic you'll pace back or pace through to try to recover what you've misplaced, etc. And so mistakes are great. Mistakes based on a process are wonderful. And then you'll know, so you followed some tips and then you tried and something failed, but at least now you have the bar upon which to, you tried to attempted preventing freezing things and then took things out. Well, your offsite location froze for just half a day and you lost some stuff that gets retained into your memory, and you can update your process specific to the type of work that you do. Okay, so far we did the top half, top portion here. We said time-based usage. If something is non-essential, then after 30 days we discover that it's non-essential, and that takes up more than half of the space in most places. Then you could also tier this. You could do this thing. I don't know how often you change your processes, but there's the 30-60, and you could keep on trimming, all that stuff that you don't use in, basically, if this was 90 days here, then whatever stuff was in the lab on the first day, this is the equipment that wasn't used in 90 days. Now you've reduced it even more than the 30-day amount, but we're going to call it 50%. Then we said in 1 year, you can discover what you don't need at all. So this is without making any, you pick up some equipment and you're like, this costs money. I'm not sure if I could get rid of it. Well, then don't just mark, if today is December 2024, you just put a sticker on it that says, on the whole box, and you don't even have to know what's in it. December 2025 discard. Then you close that box, tape it up. If you're committed to the 1 year term, then after 1 year, if you haven't opened it up, you haven't cut the seal, go straight to the trash and don't even have to think about it. You know your type of workspace and your type of workflow, so only you can decide how long it takes to do this. But basically, that's 12 months to get down to 40% of the equipment they used to have. Then you have the space. So space utilization tier. We can keep going. So depending on what's the value of the activities that you do, and depending on how expensive your types of equipment and tools and supplies are, I would use something like $20 a cubic foot. I don't sit here and calculate everything. I just know that if I have a box of mason jars and if that box of jars is not used that often, or I simply don't have a plan to use it specifically. I like it, but I don't plan to use it. Okay, so that's a cubic box of this costs less than $20. So then it can go out to discard if I can afford it. So we make money here. We make outcomes. We make stuff that has value. We don't have space for things that don't create value. And if we change our mind, then We know where to get this. This is why I always purchase things. So if I have to spend a little bit more or shop a little longer or change suppliers to get something that is standard, then if I bring it in-house, I bring it out, or we want to duplicate in another facility, then we don't have to, it's okay if it gets lost or broken. We know where to get it. That the data is more important than the physical thing. So, all right. So if we do this, like call it shelf space or desktop space or true workspace, then you could go per square foot. How about square foot of drawers in the most convenient real estate in your workshop, the stuff where you just have to take 2 steps away from your main workbench, then those top drawers are the most prime real estate, and those can be $20 per square foot. And then you say, well, if this stuff isn't used all the time, it gets bumped down to a lower drawer, it gets bumped out to a cardboard box that's going to have this expiration on it. Or you start to come up with a regular place to donate things. I had a few professors that they had regular people they knew in their circles. Whenever I donate, I know for a while in grad school, I became the person that my professor would offer things to. I got a Surface Pro, really nice, top of the line tablet because he upgraded and he's like, this is good stuff. He could just send it to Goodwill, but he knows these students that have lower budgets, and then I became the first go-to. Hey, you want this? Do you want this? And I would just get a lot of really nice stuff. Thank you, Dr. Morgan. So yeah, donate or discard or move it to a less expensive real estate. If you do this, then I definitely reduce by 50% again of prime space. Or if I'm cleaning a desk, I've made 50% more space in the desk. If I'm cleaning a whole laboratory, I made 50% more space in the laboratory. Okay, then and then let's look at substances and things that, okay, this is like paint for the floor. Like we painted the floor, the job is done, but there's a lot of spare, and this takes up a cubic foot, something like that. It's a gallon, but it's on a heavy duty shelf that can carry a lot, and we don't have, not all of our shelves are like that. It's pretty prime. So now, can I get rid of this? Here's what I do. This is $20. It's exactly at the mark. It's exactly at that $20 mark, and so it's like uncertain decision. Well, if this is the moment, this is the season, we're cranking stuff out, we need the extra space, then I want the space now. So then I just ask, okay, how much does it cost? $24. And then you can literally, if it makes you feel better, you can literally pull $24 out of your wallet, stick it in an envelope that says Glidden Paint, stick that in your files, and that goes out. And then you don't have to wonder anymore. That decision's made. So can you afford to actually just set aside the cash for the stuff? Okay, and then what you've done essentially is now the store is my storage. The literal Walmart or Lowe's becomes my shelves. And I know they're going to keep it unexpired. I know they're going to keep it organized. I know they're going to keep it labeled. I know that, like, these guys are storing my stuff for me, and it's climate controlled. That's fantastic. So what can you do below 20 bucks per cubic foot? It says give it back to the store. We're trying to make money here. So I recorded this last section and my microphone didn't turn on, so I will try to just talk you through the video instead of re-recording. We're going into the time-based clearing of items, and that gets us around a 60% reduction for me on one iteration. And then we can move on to the space-based optimization or clearing of items. And that can probably get you another 50% reduction of. You and your team will most certainly change their behaviors based on this, and probably you'll be ready to go at it another round, or even just placing more of the important things in the places where they belong, and you can probably double everything again after a month. I mean, double the outputs per square foot. In my own experience, I created enough space to do a project that I could not do before, but I knew it was a priority. That's building this table that cost about $400 if you were to purchase it off the shelf. So I already considered that a valid purchase. Then $400 were freed up in our budget. So that 400, we took that to go shopping, and it resulted in getting more cool stuff to organize further and optimize further. Some of these pegboards were among those purchases. Like pegboard, try to purchase things that are industrial, that will be around for the next decade, or industrial style, even if they're just coming from Walmart. As you're having success and having fun using organization as your project at hand, then you will start to get creative new ideas. And we unboxed equipment that was from a canceled project, so money wasted turned back into value again. I put hinges on one of these sets of pegboards. A pair are now hinged to the wall, so there's space behind it that I could file storage or manuals for the tools. And I realized that I could combine the 2020 and the pegboard to have a brand new type of result. Okay, a message to my viewers who are actually interested in taking action and improving their workspaces. Some folks have come by and remarked that my solutions are creative, or my team's solutions are creative, and I'd like to kind of set the bar a little bit lower and say that you don't need to be so creative, because creativity comes from a need. Like, probably we've all heard creative solutions come from a need to solve a problem. And once you start focusing on the problems that most people aren't focusing on, or you put a higher sense of priority on problems that everyone has, like organizing and refining your spaces with all the modern assets we have, like Amazon and Walmart and digital databases full of products and organizers, you prioritize that in your mind and you focus hard, then suddenly you'll come up with creative solutions that no one else has. The other ingredient is to treat your own needs as actual important needs. So I mentioned in a previous video that my helping hands would flop around just a little bit when I'm working, and that frustrates me. If I treat it as, well, clearly this isn't important, so I just need to become better in my skills, you can disregard that. Okay, I'm trying to say, if you use these general tips and let it sink in and push away the distractions, I'm quite sure that you can produce 10 times more workspace in your workspace. And lastly, if you reflect on the concepts and put it, run through your mind in your own processes, in your own workspaces with these tips that I shared right now, it's gonna sink in and you will have some magical solutions. So instead of letting YouTube distract you with the next video, I'm just gonna play a little bit of footage of the ocean and let you let it all simmer. If you want, you can skip the rest of this video, but this will be playing for a few more minutes, up to a 30-minute mark.